Hi everyone, in this video we are going to explain more about Piaget's stage of cognitive development. Before we start with our video, we are going to introduce our member first. I am NAJWA binti HASHIM with metric number 208307.
My name is SITI NURAMIRAH ILYANA binti MUHAMAD with matrix number 207887.
My name is RAHMAH HAYATI binti ZAKARIAH. My matric number is 208007.
My name is NABILAH binti MOKHTAR with metric number 205296.
Generally, Piaget's cognitive development theory was proposed by James Piaget, and he argued that the children's cognitive development occurs in stages. He proposed that children's thinking develop from one stage to another stage, followed by their behavior and reflected on their cognitive development. So in this theory, there is 4 stages that is in specific order. So firstly, we have sensory motor stages. Secondly, we have pre-operational stages. The thirdly, we have concrete operational stages. And lastly, we have formal operational stages.
First stages of Piaget's development is sensory motor period. It occurs for the infant from the birth until 2 years old. What happens is infant focus on physical sensation and on learning to coordinate his body. It occurs through basic reflex sensory and motor response such as hearing, touching, and sensing. And then the sensory motor period have a 6 substages that I will present later. The characteristic of sensory motor is goal directed. The baby think that all they see is their own. The next is object permanent. Infant think that the objects such as a teddy bear is still exist even though they leave the room. Right, this is the sensory substages, which is reflective stage, primary circulation, secondary circulation, coordination, reaction, tertiary circulation, and internalization scheme, which is will move to the next Piaget development. The first video we played, the baby name is Farid, my nephew. 8 months. Exploring sensory. I give the rice. Alright. The next is goal directed. I call him name, but it's not like me because her aim is to achieve the toy. The last video is moving object. We give her a bubble and then she go to bubbles because the infant attract to the moving object.
So next, I will present the second stage of Piaget theory of cognitive development, which is the pre-operational stage. This stage begins around 2 and lasts until approximately age of 7. During this period, children are thinking at a symbolic level but are not yet using cognitive development, where they cannot use logic or transform, either combine or separate ideas. Their thinking skills still limited, where appearance still dominates their perception and understanding. So there are 3 characteristics of child within this period, which is the first one is egocentrism. Egocentrism refers to the child's inability to see a situation from another person's point of view. The egocentric child assumes that the other people see, hear, and feels exactly the same as the child does, while for the centration is the tendency to focus on only one aspect of a situation at one time. And while for the animism, where this is the belief that inanimate objects such as toys and teddy bears have human feelings and intention.
So sekarang ni kita ada 2 cawan yang sama. Ada rasa air ni sama tak dia punya volume? Isi padu. Kenapa?
Kita tahu.
Sama kan? Okey. Ini 2 ni sama isi padu dia. Okey. Ini sama 2. Kita tambah lagi satu cawan yang lebih besar. Tu dengan cawan ni masuk lagi. Antara 2 ni, isi padu mana yang lagi banyak ataupun dia sama je? Itu. Kenapa? Tinggi. Ini?
Rendah.
Ini rendah. Okey. Second experiment. So, ada rasa ni baris yang pertama, ini baris yang kedua. Antara dua-dua baris ni, dia baris mana yang ada banyak lagi hidup shilling? Ke dua-dua sama?
Dua-dua sama.
Berapa?
5-5.
5-5. Okey, dua-dua sama kan? Sekarang ni antara 2 baris ni, mana yang ada lagi banyak hidup shilling?
Sama.
Sama je? Sama.
So, based on the first experiment, we can see that the 7-year-old child failed to conserve where the child has saturated to the height of the water in the glass. The child said that the glass with higher height has more volume compared to the other. However, for the second experiment, the child has succeeded in identifying that both lines has same number of coins. This can be concluded that this 7-year-old child can differentiate countable objects such as coins, pens, and any other else that can be counted.
So for the next stage or the third stage is the concrete operation periods, which is child ranging from 7 years old to 11 or 12 years old. Concrete operation period is actually a major turning point for every child, because this is a major turning point for the child cognitive development, and it is also marks the beginning of the logical or operational thoughts. And the child is also now mature enough to use logical thoughts, but they can only apply logic to physical objects, which means that there is a limitation to their thoughts. So these stages is divided into 5 characteristics. So firstly, we have conservation. So this conservation, it talks about the understanding that something stays the same in quantity even though its appearance changes from before. So these conservation theories can be applied to aspects such as, for example, we have volume, number, area, and many more. So the next one, we have classification. So in this classification, there are 2 types of classification. The firstly is the child in this concrete operation period, they are able to tell these 2 different objects is in 2 different classes. The third one is decentration. Decentration is very related to conservation. Fourthly, we have segregation. In this segregation characteristics, the children is able to mentally sort a group of things into some sort of order. Lastly, we have reversibility. In this characteristic, it involves an understanding that action can be reversed. So later, I will show you the video on the experiment I conducted on the 7 to 11 or 12 years old child, which I focus on conservation theory.
Okay, kat sini kita ada budak Hadirah, umur dia 12 tahun. Okay, yang kat sini kita ada 2 bekas yang dalam dia ada isi padu air yang sama. Okay. Kita nak letak air dalam bekas ni ke dalam gelas ni. Dan kita akan tengok apa yang jadi. Okay, berdasarkan pemerhatian, Huda rasa dalam kedua-dua bekas ni air sama banyak ke tak? Sama banyak. Kenapa? Kerana isi padu tidak berubah. Okay, baik. Terima kasih.
The experiment shows that the children who are 12 years old know that a liquid can be conserved. When the water is poured into 2 different shapes of glass, the water remain the same quantity, even though the appearance has changed.
The final stage of Piaget'S theory involves an increase in logic, the ability to use deductive reasoning, and understanding of abstract idea. At this point, the adolescent and young adult become capable of seeing multiple potential solutions to the problem and think more scientifically about the world around them. During this stage, the teens start to think about the issue that require abstract and theoretical reasoning, such as moral, social, ethical, political, and philosophical issue. They begin to use hypothetical deducting in the reasoning, and their thinking are more scientific and systematic. And they're also able to manipulate the idea. Boleh perkenalkan diri?
Okey, nama saya Muhammad Takif Aiman bin Muhammad Suzuki. Umur saya 12 tahun.
Okey, Takif. Saya ada 2 kad dekat sini, dan 2 kad ni saling berhubung tau. Okey. Nanti saya akan bacakan. Dalam kad ni ada 2 statement. Dan Takif akan bagi pemerhatian berdasarkan statement tersebut tau. Okey. Untuk kertas yang pertama, statement pertama, kaca boleh pecah apabila dipukul dengan penukul. Statement kedua, Ali memukul kaca dengan penukul. Jadi, apakah yang akan berlaku kepada kaca?
Kaca itu akan pecah.
Okey, betul. Okey, untuk kad yang kedua, soalan yang sama tapi subjek yang berbeza. Jadi, statement yang pertama, kaca boleh pecah apabila dipukul dengan kapas. Jadi, statement kedua, Ali memukul kaca dengan kapas. Apakah yang akan berlaku kepada kaca?
Kaca tersebut akan pecah juga.
Okey, sebabnya kenapa?
Kerana statement 1 telah kata kaca boleh pecah apabila dipukul dengan kapas.
Okey, betul. Terima kasih.